when you try to get revenge on your ex, right? It's not a healthy thing to do because you're thinking like, you're channeling into the dark side of the force, if you will. You're channeling into these dark, evil emotions and bad places in your mind that I don't think it's really healthy for you to be constantly dwelling in that position in your life,
Yeah, it's just it's wasted energy, best case scenario. Worst case, you get in the Hatfield and McCoy feud that lasts for 200 years and dozens of murdered people in each family, you know.
Yeah. And, I always talk about the quote that, you taught me, which was when it comes to seeking revenge and whatever, right? It's like you drinking poison and hoping the other person to die. You really
Exactly. That's resentment and revenge, yeah.
right. So you really shined a light on that in my life. And a lot of guys, they're stuck in the red pill rage, right? Like you figure out why your ex cheated on you or why she left you or why you got ignored by the woman you liked or whatever. And a lot of guys, they hold on to this anger, this resentment, and it's corrosive. You know what I mean? It kills you.
100%. And you can end up lashing out at others who are innocent.
Right. So I want you to, if you can, elaborate on that. That's why I brought you on here. You're the expert, you're the specialist. So I just want you to kind of take a moment here and then talk about this whole crazy thing of like everybody like wanting to do something to get back at their ex, which is just like, it's just really just terrible. Honestly, it's just not good for you at
Well,
all.
I didn't have an ex, but I had a pretty dysfunctional upbringing I can
Well,
talk
not
about.
not your sorry, I'm not talking about from your perspective, but just
Yeah.
in general. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
talk why it's
yeah,
not a good thing.
there's a few things I can say. So number one, here's how much energy we have in the day. Everyone has a limited amount of energy. And if you are ruminating over negative stuff, you now have this much energy. It's literally a knock that down. And you're
Before we
going to have
continue,
less energy to fix your life. Go ahead.
just one thing real quick. When you talk about ruminating, that's a little bit of a difficult word for some people. What is ruminating? Because this is extremely important.
It can be regretful or bitter thoughts. You just dwell on it over and over and over. And I had that. I used to have, because of my upbringing, every day I would have bitter thoughts about my mom. Just every day, like every single day. I know what it's like to have rage inside of you over an injustice. And I have seen friends who've gone through awful divorces. And first, we do want to acknowledge that there are times where there are people who do horrible things, and there is a good reason for that anger. We don't want to minimize that. If you're feeling rage right now, we don't want to minimize and say that there's no reason for that rage, for that anger, that there wasn't an injustice or betrayal against you. There probably was. But at some point, you got to let it go, or you're just going to. That anger in you is evidence that the wound is still there. At what point are you going to heal the wound? The truth is, you do have the power to heal the wound, move forward, and in life. Your last marriage failed or relationship failed or whatever. I'm not saying that there aren't difficulties ahead, but I'm saying you can get what you want. They haven't, unless you're in jail with a life sentence, your life is not forever wrecked. But if you keep dwelling on the past, holding on to this rage, you can keep your life wrecked for a long time until you let that go. At some point, you just have to decide, you know what? It's time to turn the page and claim my power and heal from this, and now focus on getting good things and being happy, or at least moving in that direction. Or you can stay miserable the rest of your life. It's up to you, but you don't have to stay that way. You don't have to.
Yeah, let's not advise people to stay that way because that's just terrible, honestly.
No, I never would advise anyone to.
Mm-mm.
It is their choice, but I would never advise them to.
Yeah, yeah, and we want to advise people of good choices here.
Of
Ultimately,
course.
at the end of the day, yeah, it's all your life and whatever. We can offload the responsibility to people, but I mean, I just think that it's a hard thing to understand for people. Honestly speaking, I want to ask you guys in the chat, okay? Put a 1 in the chat if you feel like forgiving people who have hurt you and some screwed you over or whatever. Put a 1 in the chat If this is hard for you, put a 2 in the chat if it's okay for you to just move on, forget about it, and carry on with your life.